are back. I don't know if everyone is as zen now from that video as I am, but we are in the Moooi green room that is outfitted in pink. And I am joined here with Jan Willem Pols, who is the Country Manager USA for Moooi. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for having us, Stacey.
Yeah, and thank you for outfitting
Happy
this
to be here.
Beautiful room. It's been a fan favorite. And so we also are, and I think too, we are sitting in the most photographed piece of furniture in the universe right now, the Hortensia. So I think I'm pretty excited to be here.
Yeah, we are very excited to be part of this second session already of CLOSEUP. We're also very excited to show the new Hortensia chair, which we just launched last year. We have it in our brand store in New York, which is recently actually also reopened, so everybody can actually come by and get the feel of the chair, the 30,000 pedals basically that are part of this chair and the fabric for the chair. I think the amazing thing about the Hortensia chair is that it really shows and encapsulates the way that Marcel likes to work with designers. He likes to realize designers' dreams, right, and make designers' dreams come true. Because as you know, this chair started out as a virtual product, right? It was a virtual idea, and it was presented and it was shown on Instagram. And it was one of the earlier examples, I think, that like really caught on, and that posed a challenge, of course, for the designer Andres, who had to come up also. There was demand basically, so we started making together with Julia Esk, who did like the fabric for the chair, to came up with this idea of the limited edition, which is also something that we see in the design world. But for us, for Moooi, we want to take it one step further and make it into a product. And this really shows that that's the way that we work at Moooi. Like, there is an idea, there is a design, and then we start looking at like, can we make that, and how can we make it actually? So, and in this case, to have these pedals in this chair, like, it's kind of the impossible chair to make, but together with the designers, we were able to do it. And we launched it last month during what's also like traditionally the Salone moment, of course, in Milan. And May is, of course, always the moment when in New York we celebrate a new design. So that's why we're here now and part of CLOSEUP.
Well, thank you for being here, and perfect to bring in Andres and Julia, who are joining us via Zoom. Hi, how are you? And you are the designer and the textile fabricator for this amazing chair. So can you talk a little bit about how the story behind the chair and how it evolved?
Yeah, of course. Well, as most of my work, I usually start designing and experimenting in digital. I have been playing with computers for my whole life. So I'm very used to sketch in digital rather than paper and pencil and stuff. It's easier for me, and I have developed like a kind of process where I start to create a lot of sketches and a lot of output, and I stumble upon some like happy errors during that process. So I feel pretty confident working and sketching in digital. So the Hortensia chair came up in a moment where I was working and trying to achieve a kind of flower texturing, but in digital that evokes that kind of feeling that flowers evokes in physical, in real life, real flowers, but without having the literality of exactly a petal, trying to make it a little bit more abstract, more like my style and my signature. So that's how I stumble upon this kind of pattern of a lot of petals, or kind of mimicking a full bloom of a flower. So all this was in digital, and I focus a lot my work of digital trying to evoke emotions, more like an emotional link, and not like a super technical, perfect render that is almost hyper-realistic or whatever. I prefer to go more into, if I can touch fiber in the viewer that can relate to the piece. For me, that's like a big success.
Yeah, and I know we featured your work in hospitality design. We're big fans of you. So, is the 3D, the visualization, how has that evolved over the years for you, and to take something that you conceived and then make it come to life?
I have been interested in creating physical pieces since a long time now. Maybe it's because of I came from digital, so I mainly explore a lot in digital and wanted to start expanding my boundaries and my understandings of the physical limitations of the physical world. And I learned a lot during that process. So what I started to, like my thesis was why I had to create a full warehouse of products in order to then create like a lot of demand in order the people to buy it.
Right.
If I can't do it, I don't have the money, I don't have the place, I don't have I was not anybody in the world of design. So I started to think with my tools, my resources, and that was just my Instagram account and my tools of the digital art.
So cool. And did you expect it to go viral like it did? Anyone?
Well, I think it was compelling enough in the moment that it went live, because people started to share it a lot.
Right.
Of course, I was not prepared for that viral amount of shares and likes. And what is most interesting is that it was not just one post that was very successful. Every time Hortensia appears in Instagram, it's just blown up with likes and shares. So it's very interesting how an object can evoke something to the viewer each time it's shared, instead of just being maybe one action in a specific moment. So that's for me, it's much more interesting.
Got it. So you drew it digitally, and then what was the process? How did we then make it come to life? Can you talk a little bit about, Julia, how you came in, and Andres, how you collaborated with Marcel and the Moooi team?
Yeah, of course. Well, at one point we started to receive requests for the chair, for a chair that didn't exist. It was only one render. I neither render it out like close-ups or nothing, like just one front view or something like that. So we started to think about creating it, because it was kind of a challenge to make this piece, because it was not something that you can have like, okay, I can see the blueprints of how we can reproduce that image to the physicality. It was very a challenge. So I started to visit some producers and some teams that can help me to produce the entire piece, because as I'm not a product designer, I'm a visual artist. So a lot of things escapes from my understanding. At that point was almost everything. So I started to think and search for a team that can almost assure me that kind of image that I'm delivering will be created physically. And everyone was like very negative with the response. It was very difficult to convince them. They all said that we are going to lose a lot of money, and we are going to lose time and everything. So that's when I was like, I'm Tauro, so I'm very stubborn. And when I want something, I just go right to it. So that's when we were sharing studio with Julia at that time, and we were sharing a lot of projects and ideas and brainstorming on things. And she was involved in Hortensia from the first sketches and first time. But we never thought that it was going to be like so formal to create this piece, like in physical, and neither in a limited edition at the first moment. So that's when I proposed to Julia to jump in on Hortensia project and to start like really taking part on this, because I couldn't advance on the process of creation, because I found a team of people, of designers and producers that helped me create the basic structure with wood and foam, but then we didn't have the fabric petals, and we didn't have how to do it in a more industrialized way, not to like be lost in the middle of one chair. So that's when Julia started to experimenting a lot with these patterns of petals that I think she can explain it better, but it was a totally game changer in the story of Hortensia at that moment.
Yeah, Julia, can you tell us how you made it a reality?
Yeah, of course. The concept of transforming the texture from the rendering into a repeatable textile surface was very challenging. As Andres mentioned, that he's very digital and very physical, like I'm a product designer, and my way of working on my process, it's always based on mock-ups and prototypes. So I need to be able to touch the objects I work on, and like to understand the relation with ourselves, like how do we relate with these objects that we have around. And the only thing that we knew since the very beginning is that the structure, or like the surface of the textile, had to look like a flowering blossom and had to appear light and fuzzy. So that was already something. We knew that we had to work with a very vaporous and soft textile. And understanding that the petals had to be like so soft. Here we also start understanding that we were needing a backing textile that would be like thicker, elastic, and that could be like wrapped around the volume of the chair. So that was already like something to like start like working on it. Yeah. And then like the very first like prototypes and mock-ups, they were like paper mock-ups that we were doing in the studio. And at that moment, we were treating the flower as a unit. So we were like kind of like cutting the petals and trying to fasten them to a backing textile. But we understood that we would, like the process would take so long if we would treat each petal as a unit. So at this moment, we start realizing that we have to think in a more of a modular way and work with like longer stripes of full of petals that then would be like sewn to a backing textile. And we spent like maybe like between 3 and 4 months until the very first mock-ups, let's say like this, were like a valid principle that we could like continue working on it. And then we spent like more, like maybe 4 or 5 more months redefining and selecting like the right textiles, the right colors, the specific diameter for those petals. And then we went like for some months of like fine tuning. So overall, it was like more than 1 year of work. And we were working like our way of working. It was like from the studio, we were creating these like 40 by 40 samples of textile that we would place in a very first prototype that we had of the chair, like the full volume and structure. And we would put like our samples on top of the chair. We would take our phones, like take like Andres' rendering, take some distance and like compare how the chair was looking with those samples, comparing it to the rendering, and then like understanding like if we were needing something a bit like lighter or or like maybe more gathering, like more flowers, less flowers, and just it was like almost like a test and result. Like it was about experimentations and iterations, like learning what we were doing like correctly and then improving it until until step by step we were improving.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you did it so well. It did it so well. So it looks beautiful. And I was saying it should be a dress. And so thank you for investing in something like this. Why, it's beautiful.
And we make them in so it's the pink. We have a gray version as well in petals. And as we mentioned, it's you can come and sit in it yourself in our brand store on 31st Street. So
Awesome.
we would love to have you come over.
Well, thank you for telling the story. It was lovely to meet you guys via Zoom and hopefully in real life soon. And Jan, thank you so much for being in the studio with us and for this beautiful green room. We are heading straight after this to the NYC by Design Awards. Stay tuned. It will be live on this feed. So thank you so much. See you back for more close-up right after the NYC by Design Awards at 2:30. Thanks.